The Killer, a thriller on Netflix, concludes with the main assassin making a very confusing choice about what will happen to Claybourne, the wealthy hedge fund manager who has ordered a hit on the former's fiancée. After the murderer fails to complete the task he sets to the latter via Edward Hodges, the assassin's handler, Claybourne funds the hit. The murderer seeks out and kills the two assassins who injured his girlfriend, the brute and the expert, in order to get his revenge. After that, the murderer goes on to his next victim, Claybourne, and breaks into his heavily guarded home to get revenge for almost killing his girlfriend Magdala. He has repeatedly demonstrated that he is a heartless killer devoid of humanity, which allows him to take the lives of several victims he has encountered, including the two assassins who injured his companion and the cab driver. However, after speaking with Claybourne, the murderer leaves his home, sparing his life and leaving only a warning. There are two possible explanations for his decision not to murder the man who initiated everything. Theory 1. Claybourne is irrelevant. Even if Claybourne provides the funding for the strike on Magdala, he is seldom present in the same. As the assassin fails to hit his intended victim, the businessman attempts to figure out how to handle the situation and is told to cover his tracks. In order to protect his client, Hodges chooses to get rid of the killer's girlfriend, who is the one weak link in the group. With no ill will against Magdala, Claybourne accepts Hodges' suggestion as someone who has no idea how the criminal underworld functions. Regarding Claybourne, he would have agreed to anything Hodges put in front of him as the best course of action. After breaking into the businessman's home to murder him, the assassin has a brief conversation with Claybourne during which he discovers his stupidity. Claybourne is obviously unaware of what happened to Magdala since, despite witnessing a stranger with a gun inside his heavily secured home, he fails to link the former to the assassination he orders against the latter. The businessman pays to scrub the trail, but he has no idea what that really means, so he isn't even aware that the killer's companion will suffer. All he is informed of is the existence of a cleanup on aisle 3. The murderer is quickly persuaded that Claybourne is not the cause of Magdala's condition. He understands the businessman's ignorance and wonders why the latter hasn't even given him his name. At last realizing the businessman is pointless, the killer asks, "I break into your home, in the middle of the night, with a silenced pistol, and you have no idea why I might be here." Claybourne doesn't anticipate the killer tracking him down and pointing a pistol at him because he doesn't know how Hodges handled the situation following the killer's miss. Unlike the other parties engaged in the situation, he believes he hasn't done anything disrespectful to the individual he hired to come before him. Immediately as the assassin arrives in front of them, they recognize him, Hodges or the two assassins. They obviously recognize the killer even before they exchange words since they know they've done something to earn his retaliation. In Claybourne's instance, the job he provides the murderer is the sole crime he commits mentally, as Hodges hasn't done anything more to warrant an assassin to come up at his home. He takes the lawyer at his word when he pledges to settle the concerns surrounding the same and moves on. The murderer decides to spare Claybourne after realizing who is truly to blame for his partner's suffering. Having said that, the murderer may not have spared the businessman for no other reason than Claybourne's insignificance. If so, the murderer had no right to kill Dolores, who was just employed by the attorney, or the taxi driver, who had no idea that the two assassins were about to kill someone. The murderer is not a morally upright being who can distinguish between good and wrong. Given that he is a complete stranger, he should have at least allowed the cab driver to survive if he was being considerate. So why is forgiveness extended solely to Claybourne? Theory 2. Retirement on the horizon. The fact that Claybourne is a powerful and extraordinarily wealthy businessman is probably why the murderer spares him. In contrast to the taxi driver or Dolores, the billionaire's murder would open the door to a thorough inquiry into the killing, which would present more challenges for the murderer. The murderer decides to give up on his career as an assassin and meets Claybourne. It seems that he decided to give up his career as a cold-blooded killer after becoming persuaded that he needs a quiet existence with his love Magdala. After she almost dies, the murderer must have realized he could no longer carry out his job. The killer prioritizes his love with Magdala to the point where, even though he is supposed to use a different name to begin a new chapter in his life, he flees to her when a mission goes wrong. After finishing his retaliatory killing spree, he wants to go back to her, and killing Claybourne could get in the way of that. He could have to flee if he kills the businessman, which would keep him away from his partner and the serenity he desires in their relationship. The assassin decides against killing Claybourne since he has nothing to gain from it. The businessman may not even be fully to blame for Magdala's near-death experience. The assassin notes that it is simpler to locate or track down wealthy people while searching for Claybourne, presumably as a result of their notoriety and visibility. For the same reasons, there will be a long-lasting fallout from Claybourne's murder, which will impact the perpetrator's future intentions. Because he is certain that the deaths and murders of the two assassins, the taxi driver, Dolores, and Hodges, will be forgotten quickly. Unlike Claybourne's murder, he is able to kill them both with confidence. In order to enjoy his retirement with his spouse in the Dominican Republic, the assassin lets the businessman live. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more.